High Commander Crix Vorne of the Zyian Defense Force drummed his elongated fingers against the polished obsidian table as he watched the grainy footage for the 100th time. The projection showed what his scientists claimed were primitive bipedal warriors, yet something about their movements made his inner membranes twitch with unease. "Play it again," he ordered, his voice carrying that distinctive clicking undertone that revealed his growing frustration. The neural-linked AI complied instantly, projecting the battlefield footage across the command center's panoramic screens. The scene unfolded just as it had the previous 99 times. A group of human soldiers, who called themselves Delta Force, moved through what should have been an impossible combat zone. Their black-clad figures navigated the radioactive ruins of what was once Chernobyl, a place Zyian environmental sensors declared absolutely lethal. "Pause right there," Crix leaned forward, his scaled neck extending. "Tell me again why our troops can't do this." Sub-Commander Nixis, standing rigidly at attention, cleared her throat tubes. "Sir, the radiation levels in that zone would liquefy our internal organs within minutes, even with our most advanced shielding. These humans, they just walk right through it." "Impossible," Crix muttered, but the evidence was right there, mocking his every preconception. "What about their equipment? Surely they must have superior radiation shielding." "That's the thing, sir," Nixis manipulated the holographic controls, zooming in on the human soldiers. "Their protective gear is primitive, nothing more than layers of synthetic materials and some basic lead shielding. By our standards, they might as well be wearing ritual dancing costumes." The room fell silent as the footage continued. The human soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, setting up something they called a forward operating base in conditions that would have killed any Zyian Special Forces team in minutes. "Show me their vital signs during this operation," Crix demanded, his professional detachment slipping as he watched these impossible soldiers work. Nixis obliged, bringing up a separate overlay. "Heart rates elevated but stable. No signs of cellular degradation. They're not just surviving, sir. They're thriving." Crix felt his upper spines bristle. When the human resistance had first emerged, he dismissed them as primitive creatures barely worth the attention of the mighty Zyian Empire. Now, watching these black-clad figures moving through hell itself like it was nothing more than a pleasant stroll, he felt the first real stirrings of fear. "Get me everything we have on their other special operations units," he ordered, rising from his command chair. "Every scrap of footage, every sensor reading, every battle report. Something tells me we've greatly underestimated what these humans are capable of." As his subordinates scrambled to comply, Crix kept his eyes fixed on the frozen image of a human soldier, casual as could be, checking a primitive wrist-mounted device in an environment that should have rendered them to atoms. For the first time in his 300-cycle military career, he wondered if the Zyian Empire had finally met its match. "And Nixis," he added, not turning around. "Send word to the High Council. Tell them we may need to reconsider our invasion strategy." The implications hung in the air like a toxic cloud. If these were humanity's capabilities in just one impossible environment, what else were they capable of? The thought made Crix's chromatic scales shift to a darker shade of dread. The briefing chamber's temperature plummeted as the environmental simulators activated, recreating the conditions from what the Zyians now called the Arctic Massacre, minus 120 degrees Celsius. Even the advanced heating systems in their command center struggled to compensate. "This should be impossible," battle analyst Zara Vex announced, her voice crackling through thermal protection gear. "No sentient species should be able to operate effectively in these conditions. Our own troops lasted exactly 8.3 minutes before their combat systems failed." The holographic display showed a vast expanse of ice and darkness. Through the swirling snow, thermal signatures appeared, the hot spots of Zyian dropships and combat walkers. Then, seemingly from nowhere, other signatures emerged, human shapes, moving with deadly precision through conditions that should have frozen their primitive hydraulic muscles solid. "Commander Stone's team," Crix muttered, watching the scene unfold. "Designation, U.S. Navy SEALs. They shouldn't even be able to breathe in that temperature, let alone fight. The footage continued its merciless display. 27 humans, led by Commander Jack Stone, moved like ghosts through the Arctic night. Their weapons should have jammed, their communications should have failed, their bodies should have shut down. Instead, they carved through the Zyian forward base like a plasma torch through butter. "Play the command audio," Crix ordered, needing to understand how these impossible soldiers coordinated in such conditions. Stone's voice came through, calm as a frozen lake. "Alpha Team, breach the east perimeter. Beta, you're on generator duty. Charlie, with me, we're paying their commander a visit. Watch your corners, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful night for a walk. A beautiful night. At -120 degrees Celsius. Crix felt his thermal regulator shudder. "Sir," Zara continued, her professional demeanor cracking slightly, "the humans had no powered thermal suits, no anti-grav support, no neural enhancers. They carried what they call conventional weapons, projectile-based systems that should have seized up instantly in these temperatures." The display showed the systematic destruction of a Zyian base that had cost billions to establish. Stone's team moved with ruthless efficiency, their movements suggesting years of training in these impossible conditions. They didn't just survive the cold, they used it as a weapon. "Show me the comparison footage," Crix demanded, though he already knew what was coming. The screen split, showing the Zyian Special Forces attempt to replicate the human operation. Even with the most advanced cold weather gear in the Empire, the elite Zyian troops moved like dying insects. Their weapons failed, their shield generators crystallized, their combat stimulants turned to ice in their delivery systems. 8.3 minutes, Zara repeated, her voice hollow. "That's how long our best troops lasted." Stone's team operated continuously for 72 hours in those conditions. They even stopped to eat something called beef jerky in the middle of the assault. Crix watched as the human commander, this impossible warrior called Stone, personally disabled the base's quantum shield generator with what appeared to be primitive explosive compounds and improvised electronic warfare tools. The man's movements were precise, almost casual, as if the killing cold was nothing more than a minor inconvenience. "What did Stone say when we interviewed the survivors?" Crix asked, dreading the answer. Zara pulled up the transcript. His exact words to the base commander were, "Next time, pick a fight somewhere really cold." This was just a light workout. The room fell silent except for the hum of overworked thermal regulators. The implications were staggering. If humans could not only survive but thrive in conditions that killed Zyian troops in minutes, what were the strategic implications for the wider war? "There's more, sir," Zara added, her voice barely a whisper. Before they left, Stone's team left a message carved into the base's quantum steel walls. "Our linguistics experts just finished the translation." Crix braced himself. "What did it say?" "Thanks for the cool reception. We'll bring hot cocoa next time." The High Commander of the Zyian Defense Force, veteran of 1,000 battles across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, felt something he hadn't experienced since his first combat drop, pure, unadulterated fear. These humans didn't just fight in impossible conditions, they joked about it. "Update our combat protocols," he ordered. "All Arctic operations are suspended indefinitely. And find out what this hot cocoa is. I want to know what gives them this power." The holographic display in the Zyian Command Center shifted from Arctic white to desert gold, and even through the environmental filters, Commander Crix felt his scales prickle at the simulated heat. The Yemen incident, as it would become known in classified Zyian records, represented another impossible chapter in their failing war against humanity. Temperature reading, 55 degrees Celsius, battle analyst Zara Vex announced, her voice tight with professional concern. "Our forward base was equipped with our most advanced cooling systems. The humans had nothing comparable." The footage showed the vast expanse of Earth's Rub al-Khali Desert, where the Zyian Empire had established what they believed to be an impregnable position. Their base, a testament to advanced alien engineering, sprawled across the dunes like a metallic oasis. "Show me the initial contact," Crix ordered, his inner eyelids narrowing against the harsh glare of the desert sun in the projection. The scene unfolded with brutal clarity. A small human team, led by Lieutenant Amira Rodriguez, approached the base on foot. Not in vehicles, not with cooling suits. On foot, carrying what seemed to be ridiculously heavy packs in the scorching heat. Their approach lasted 6 hours, Zara noted, checking her data streams. No breaks, no shade. They carried approximately 40 kilograms of equipment each. Our medical experts still can't explain how their organs didn't cook inside their bodies. Crix watched as Rodriguez's team, designated as Green Berets, moved through the desert with the same casual efficiency he'd seen in Stone's Arctic operation. They should have been dead. Instead, they looked annoyed. "Play the captured audio," he commanded. Rodriguez's voice came through, somehow managing to sound amused despite the hellish conditions. "Command, this is Sandstorm 6. Weather's great for a beach party. Beginning Phase 1. By the way, someone owes me a cold beer after this." The footage continued, showing the systematic dismantling of Zyian defenses. The aliens' advanced cooling systems, rated for temperatures far exceeding the desert heat, began failing one by one. Their troops, even in fully climate-controlled battle suits, started showing signs of heat exhaustion. "Pause," Crix barked. "Explain to me how our cooling technology failed while humans in cloth coverings continued to function." Zara manipulated the controls, highlighting the Green Berets' movements. "Sir, they used the heat. Their tactics actually took advantage of the temperature. Watch Lieutenant Rodriguez here." The footage resumed, zooming in on Rodriguez as she disabled a Zyian sentinel post. The heat had caused the post sensors to create mirages, phantom readings that the system tried desperately to track. While the advanced AI struggled to compensate, Rodriguez's team simply walked through the blind spots. "Our technology was too complex," Zara admitted, her professional pride clearly wounded. "The humans used something they called basic training and desert warfare experience. No computers, no cooling systems. Just adaptation." But the true display of human impossibility came during the rescue mission. 3 hours into the operation, a group of human civilians was discovered in the base, aid workers who had been caught in the initial Zyian invasion. The temperature had soared to 57 degrees Celsius, and the base's remaining systems were failing. Rodriguez's voice crackled through again. "Change of plans, command. We've got friendlies inside. Moving to extract. And someone better make that beer an ice-cold six-pack now." What followed defied every combat doctrine in the Zyian military handbook. Rodriguez split her team, sending half to create a diversion by turning the base's own heating problems against it. She personally led the rescue operation, navigating through sections of the facility where the cooling systems had failed completely. The internal temperature in those sections, Zara reported, her voice filled with disbelief, reached 63 degrees Celsius. Lieutenant Rodriguez carried 2 injured civilians on her back. She was wearing standard human combat gear and something called a shamrock. The footage showed Rodriguez, sweat-soaked but moving with determined precision, leading a group of civilians through the superheated corridors. When a Zyian security team tried to intercept them, she engaged in hand-to-hand combat, her movements economical, conserving energy in the killer heat. Her core temperature during this engagement, Zara continued, should have induced total organ failure. Instead, she neutralized 6 armed Zyian troops and made a joke about hot yoga training paying off. Crix watched as Rodriguez's team extracted every civilian, demolished the base's command center, and walked back into the desert. The entire operation had lasted 11 hours in temperatures that would have killed most species in minutes. "Final casualty report," he demanded, though he already knew the answer. "0 human casualties, sir." They suffered what their medics called mild dehydration. Lieutenant Rodriguez reportedly consumed something called a Gatorade and was back on duty the next day. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's special forces didn't just operate in these conditions, they thrived in them. They turned environments that should have killed them into tactical advantages. One last thing, sir, Zara added, her scales shifting to a pale shade of worry. Before leaving, Lieutenant Rodriguez left another message. It was carved into the melted remains of our primary cooling unit. Crix sighed. Let me guess. Another joke. Yes, sir. It read, thanks for the sauna. Next time, make it hot enough to sweat. The High Commander of the Zyian Defense Force stared at the desert footage, watching Rodriguez's team disappear into the heat haze like wraiths. First the Arctic cold, now the desert heat. These humans didn't just endure impossible conditions, they turned them into weapons. Update our threat assessment, he ordered. And someone find out what this Gatorade substance is. I want to know if it's some kind of combat enhancement drug. As his staff scrambled to comply, Crix couldn't shake the feeling that the Zyian Empire had stumbled into a war they couldn't possibly win. Not against soldiers who laughed in the face of conditions that would kill his best troops. Commander Crix Vorne stood before the Zyian High Council, his usually impeccable posture now rigid with tension. The holographic displays behind him cycled through images of human special forces in action, Delta Force in the radioactive ruins, Navy SEALs in the Arctic wasteland, Green Berets in the scorching desert. Each scene was a testament to the impossible resilience of Earth's defenders. Esteemed council members, Crix began, his voice carrying the weight of his revelations, we face an enemy unlike any the Zyian Empire has encountered before. These humans, their elite warriors in particular, operate in conditions that our best troops cannot withstand for more than minutes. They turn hostile environments into weapons, using our own technological complexities against us. The council chamber buzzed with murmurs of disbelief and concern. High Counselor Zyaans, his crystalline exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber lights, leaned forward. Commander Vorne, are you suggesting that our invasion plans are flawed? Crix met Zyaans' compound eyes unflinchingly. I am suggesting, High Counselor, that we have grossly underestimated the human capacity for adaptation and resilience. If we do not reassess our strategies, we risk catastrophic losses. He gestured to the displays, freezing an image of Lieutenant Rodriguez carrying injured civilians through a superheated corridor. This human, Lieutenant Amira Rodriguez of the U.S. Army Green Berets, personally rescued multiple civilians from a base where our own cooling systems had failed completely. She operated for hours in temperatures that would have killed a Zyian in minutes, all while engaging our security forces in hand-to-hand combat. Zyaans' mandibles twitched, a sign of deep contemplation. And what of these mysterious substances they consume? This. Hot cocoa, and Gatorade? Could they be the source of their impossible endurance? Crix shook his head. Our analysis suggests these are merely hydration aids and mild stimulants, not unlike our own combat rations. The true source of their strength seems to be more intangible, a combination of training, mental conditioning, and sheer force of will. He brought up a new set of images, this time focusing on the messages left behind by the human teams. Thanks for the cool reception. We'll bring hot cocoa next time. Thanks for the sauna. Next time, make it hot enough to sweat. These are not the words of soldiers pushed to their limits, but of warriors who revel in the challenge. They mock the very conditions that kill our troops. The council chamber fell silent, the weight of Crix's words sinking in. Finally, High Counselor Zyaans spoke, his voice resonating with grim determination. Commander Vorne, what do you propose? Crix stood tall, his chromatic scales shifting to a resolute shade of steel. We must adapt, High Counselor. We must study these humans, learn from their impossible feats. We need a new breed of Zyian warrior, one forged in the fires of adversity, capable of thriving where our current forces falter. He pointed to the frozen image of Commander Stone, his face a mask of calm focus amidst the Arctic hell. We start by creating training environments that mimic the worst Earth has to offer, the radioactive wastelands, the frozen tundras, the scorching deserts. We push our troops to their breaking points and beyond, redefining what we believe to be possible. Zyaans nodded slowly, his crystalline form shimmering with the weight of the decision. It will not be easy, Commander. We will lose many in the process. No, High Counselor, Crix agreed, his voice hardening with resolve. But we will also forge a new generation of Zyian warriors, ones capable of meeting the humans on their own terms. It is the only way we can hope to prevail in this war. The council members exchanged glances, a silent conversation passing between them. Finally, Zyaans spoke for them all. Then let it be so, Commander Vorne. You have the full backing of this council. Forge us an army capable of facing Earth's impossible defenders. The future of the Zyian Empire depends on it. As the council chamber erupted into a fervor of activity, Crix allowed himself a moment of grim satisfaction. The path ahead would be grueling, littered with the broken bodies of those who could not adapt. But from the crucible of impossible adversity, a new breed of Zyian warrior would emerge, one ready to face Earth's elite on their own terms. The real war, Crix knew, was just beginning. The wasteland stretched out before them, a nightmarish expanse of twisted metal, churning sand, and toxic haze. In the distance, the ruins of the Zyian Forward Operations Base loomed like the carcass of some great, fallen beast. Commander Crix Vorne stood at the head of his strike team, his new, matte-black battle armor a stark contrast to the chromatic hues of his scales. Behind him, a dozen of the Zyian Empire's finest warriors waited, each one forged in the crucible of the most hostile environments Earth had to offer. Remember your training, Crix said, his voice carrying through the calm link. The humans will use the terrain against us. They'll turn the very air we breathe into a weapon. But we've faced these conditions before. We've adapted. We've evolved. A series of affirmative clicks responded, the sound of a team ready to face the impossible. Crix activated his helmet's environmental seals, the hiss of pressurized air signaling the start of the mission. They moved out, a silent, lethal unit, navigating the treacherous terrain with a grace that would have been unthinkable mere months ago. The toxic haze swirled around them, a living, malevolent entity that sought to choke the life from their lungs. But their new armor, designed specifically for Earth's worst, filtered the poisonous air, allowing them to breathe, to function, to fight. As they neared the ruins, a familiar voice crackled over the calm, well, look who finally decided to join the party. Crix's eyes narrowed behind his visor. Commander Stone. I thought I might find you here. A low chuckle, then, you know me, Crix. I never could resist a good challenge. And it seems you've brought some new playmates. I hope they're ready for a hell of a workout. We're not here to play games, Stone. This ends now. We'll see about that. Delta Force, let's give our guests a warm welcome. The ruins erupted into a maelstrom of fire and shrapnel as the humans' trap sprung. Zyian shields flared, absorbing the brunt of the initial assault. Crix barked orders, his team moving with practiced precision, seeking cover, returning fire, adapting to the ever-shifting battlefield. Through the chaos, he caught glimpses of the humans, their black-clad forms darting through the ruins like vengeful wraiths. They moved with a fluid grace that spoke of countless hours in these nightmarish conditions, their weapons spitting death with unerring accuracy. But the Zyians gave as good as they got. Their new training, their new armor, their new resolve, all of it coalesced into a formidable fighting force that met the humans' impossible tactics with a tenacity born of desperation and sheer, indomitable will. The battle raged, minutes stretching into hours, the ruins transformed into a hellish labyrinth of shattered metal and toxic smoke. Casualties mounted on both sides, the ground growing slick with the mingled blood of human and Zyian alike. And then, through the haze of war, Crix saw him. Commander Stone, his armor scorched and battered, his face a mask of grim determination. The human commander raised his weapon, a silent challenge in his eyes. Crix answered in kind, his own battle rifle leveled and ready. They moved, two apex predators locked in a deadly dance, their respective teams swirling around them in a chaos of fire and fury. They clashed, their armor sparking, their blades flashing in the toxic twilight. Stone was fast, his movements honed by a lifetime of impossible battles. But Crix matched him step for step, his own skills tempered in the fires of Earth's most hostile environments. "You've improved," Stone grunted, his blade locked against Crix's. "I'm almost impressed." "We learn from the best," Crix snarled back. "And now, we surpass you." With a burst of strength, he shoved Stone back, the human commander stumbling, his footing lost for a critical moment. Crix pressed the advantage, his blade flashing, seeking the weak points in Stone's armor. But the human was nothing if not adaptable. He twisted, his own blade coming up in a desperate parry, the clang of metal on metal lost in the din of battle. Around them, their teams fought on, each side pushing themselves to the very limits of what was possible, and beyond. In the end, it was a battle of attrition, a grueling, bloody slugfest where the only true victor was the Grim Reaper himself. As the toxic haze began to clear, the toll of the conflict became apparent. The ruins were littered with the broken bodies of both human and Zyian, a testament to the savage price of adaptation. Amidst the carnage, Crix and Stone stood, battered, bloodied, but unbowed. They faced each other across a sea of their fallen comrades, a strange, grudging respect in their eyes. "This isn't over," Stone said, his voice a ragged whisper. "As long as even one of us still draws breath, we'll keep fighting." Crix nodded, his own breath coming in labored gasps. "And we'll be ready, Stone. We'll meet you in the fires of hell itself, if that's what it takes." A ghost of a smile flickered across Stone's face. "I wouldn't have it any other way." With that, the human commander turned, his surviving team members falling in around him as they melted back into the ruins. Crix watched them go, a strange mix of emotions churning in his gut. They had won, in a sense. They had proven that the Zyian Empire could adapt, could evolve to face the impossible challenges posed by Earth's defenders. But the cost had been staggering. As he gazed out over the blasted, corpse-strewn wasteland, Crix knew that this was only the beginning. The humans would adapt in turn, would find new ways to push themselves, to turn the very fabric of reality into a weapon against their enemies. And the Zyians would meet them, on every battlefield, on every world, in every corner of the galaxy. Two implacable forces, locked in an endless cycle of adaptation and counter-adaptation, until the very stars themselves burned out. Such was the price of facing the impossible, and emerging, if not victorious, then at least unbroken. Such was the way of war, in a universe where the only true constant was the indomitable will of those who refused to yield, no matter the odds, no matter the cost.